What's good, people? Welcome back to another episode of my Immigrant Diary, the space where we unpack the journeys, the struggles, and the headlines that defines the immigrant experience. I'm your host, Precious. All right, then. Wally, today we have several things we want to talk about, but something that is very deep that happened recently, and I think that is worthy to mention, is a very sad story that came out of New York this week, the LaGuardia airport, involving an express flight, which led to the death of two pilots, the crash that happened. I don't know if you saw that news, but it was really heartbreaking to just see. As an immigrant, we travel all the time. You know, there's several people in that airline that did survive, but the pilot and the co-pilot didn't make it. And it's really, really heartbreaking just to see that kind of incident. So, Wally, what do you think about, what's your view of all this that happened?
Well, first of all, I express my condolences to the family of the pilots and co-pilots and pray that they continue to have the strength to be able to go through this difficult situation. And for everyone that is still dealing with the injuries, including the flight attendants, the flight passengers, and the people in the fire truck. We pray that everyone is able to have a full recovery. It's definitely it's a very horrifying situation where I'm sure probably a lot of people have seen the video where the where the plane just could not stop. Like it was practically just landing, and it was just an unfortunate perfect storm that happened where they both met at the same intersection where the plane could not stop for whatever reason. The truck was also going at full speed and did not see the airplane. And the crash was devastating. It was very, very hard to watch. And I can't imagine just being in an aircraft. And you know that when you just landed, when you're traveling on an airplane, most of the concerns usually are in the air, and when you're on the ground, you believe that the worst is gone. And now you can just cruise to the gates and go home. We hope to completely avoid this kind of thing in the future. One of the solutions that some people are proposing is to automate a lot of these processes, where you can automatically detect vehicles on the runway, whether it's an aircraft or it's a land vehicle, and to help prevent this kind of things. The LaGuardia airport is currently closed, and so at least as at this recording is closed. All the other airlines, the flights have been rerouted to the closest airport.
So, Wally, something interesting about the story that came out was the fact that the truck, which is a emergency vehicle, an ambulance, was actually responding to another flight that had a situation and needed, support. And so the ambulance was actually running or driving to get to that airplane. Whereas, like you mentioned, the Air Canada had just landed, and it's quite unfortunate that the truck didn't see, the plane coming through, because that's where all of this happened. Because if the truck had seen it, the truck would have probably slowed down. And so, which beats the question about you trying to improve technology to ensure that when if flights are approaching like that, there should be a way, barricades, electronic barricade, to kind of prevent any obstruction on the way, to prevent
Yes.
incidents in the future. It was also said, from one of the reports, that there was only one person at the tower, which will still be investigated, because that should not be. And even the person that called it in, to say to that called what's it called, the ambulance, to kind of make the move. It could be heard in the recording when he said that, I messed up. It just, I can imagine how down, hearted he would be feeling, even up to this moment, just feeling like I made that call. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm responsible for these people's death. You could hear it in his voice when he was, responding to, I think, maybe some other superior, in the over the intercom.
Do
But
we have a recording of that?
yes. There's I saw it on one of the news channel. They played it. Yeah, so that's why I heard it. But anyways, moving on. from, travel safety, as we talked about, to public safety. Yeah, we often talk about the success stories of immigrants, but yeah, we want to also talk about and address crime stories as well. Australian criminal alien Andrew Lawrence Welch is a convicted rapist arrested by ICE Orlando officers. Sorry. He also has two DUI convictions at Arizona. He entered the US as a student with a student visa and later obtained a green card. But due to his crimes, he is in ICE custody pending removal. This is to say that having a green card, even having a US citizenship, can be revoked for criminal history, or if anyone has been convicted. So these guys were convicted, served time, and now ICE is like, you know what, this guy is gonna have to leave. It is important that as immigrants, when we move into a new country like America, for us, it's important that we respect the law. Of this kind of conviction, this is extreme crime, and this is unacceptable at any level, Wale.
Yeah, so it's definitely a hideous crime, and I'm surprised that someone like this would be perpetrating this kind of crime. That he's from I think since all this immigration enforcement started with this administration, I've not heard about anyone from Australia or New Zealand or from that part of the world being deported this way. And that's one surprise. The other surprise also is that, like, the laws are, you would think that there's a lot of commonalities between Australia and the United States, where there's obviously they're both Western countries. There are women rights that men respect. You would think that someone that's coming as an alien from the same Western country would be able to abide by the law. So I'm very surprised by this, but it also goes to show that the Trump administration is very serious about deporting violent criminals. So what I'm thinking is, if you get to the point where you're already committing a crime as an immigrant, is it something that you learn when you arrive in the United States, or is it something that you learn where you're coming from? So that's what anyway, that's probably not an argument that I should be making right
I
now,
don't
but
think it's an argument, Wally. I think you have a valid point, because the question is it learned? Is it a learned habit, or is it something that just kind of happened? Do you get what I'm saying? Because this person came in as a student, came in, so there's some level of exposure. Do you get not even some? There's a level of exposure in him to know right from wrong, to know the repercussions of breaking the law, and so for him to have two DUIs, to be convicted of what he was convicted for, that shows the kind of person he is. So it's not a one-off. It's not a one-off, or it was just a mistake. This person is a criminal. That's what it means. Because beyond the fact the person has been convicted, this same person has two DUI. So he's irresponsible, and he's going to face the route. And yeah, whatever decision that is made, that's good to go.
yeah, well,
But
he's been deported, so
so he's been deported, so let him go. James Junior Aliyu, a Nigerian national, will serve 90 months sentence for his role in a wire fraud and money laundering conspiracy after planning to hack business email servers in America. Aliyu was extradited from South Africa to face justice. He was slapped with $1.2 million forfeiture order and a $2.4 million restitution order, and will be removed from the United States when he completes his sentence. We immigrate to America for greener pasture. Aliyu was brought to America to serve term. I would always be amazed and shocked at the extent people go with regard to wire fraud, and thinking that because they are somewhere in Africa or somewhere in Asia or somewhere in the Middle East or somewhere even within America, thinking that they will not be found. I will always say it only takes one person to pick up your file that is already sitting in the office of the authorities. So being in South Africa, and for them to say he had a forfeiture of $1.2 million, that means he had some level of cash or asset that he has just lost.
yes.
Not lost, because he never even gained it in the first place. It was, of course, stolen. But Wale,
Yes.
my disappointment with people that do this is because they put a stain on the rest of us who are living and moving as immigrants and working our way up.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with that. I absolutely am happy that he's been arrested and extradited to the United States. I think the confusing part and part that is I'm a little bit confused about is that he's going to be jailed in the United States. That means that we are going to be feeding him. He doesn't have access to a lot of things, but he's going to be imprisoned. I am not sure if that's the best way to spend our money. Confiscating his assets is great. That's the best first way that we need to actually the first thing that we need to do. But him spending more time in jail, yes, so going to be consuming more taxpayers' money. So that's the only part that I'm not so sure about.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I want to jump in when you said that. I get you on that point, but you need to understand that that people need to serve time, and even though he's yes taking some taxpayer money, his freedom is he doesn't have his freedom. He doesn't have access to continue to hurt more people because if you consider the impact of wire fraud, businesses that will suffer, lose their fund, individuals that will be victims, just imagine all the impact that I think that outshines whatever, in my opinion, taxpayer money is being spent, to keep this person in jail. This person being on the street and being able to have access to continue in that line can cause way more damage than the money that will be spent. That would be my opinion to that.
Yeah, that might make sense. It could also, well, I think there are other financial penalties besides confiscating his assets. Basically restricting him for any kind of financial ability, removing his banking ability to bank, for example, is one thing. There are so many things that can be implemented, but I think you are right that it makes sense that he needs is to serve time. Does he need to serve time in the United States? And can he be jailed like down there in South Africa? Wait.
It depends on the relationship,
Yeah, yeah. So I'm
because
just
the
thinking
crime
about
was
how do
committed.
we save money the most in this kind of situation? How do we ensure that he is not able to be a repeat offender? I guess from what the authorities are thinking, putting him in jail here is the best way because yes, he does lose access to a lot of the things that he used to be able to do. Plus, 90 month jail sentence is about what 7 8 it's about 8 months in jail, 7 months and
About
a
seven
little bit
years.
over 7 months in jail.
7 years. You keep saying months. 7 years,
7 years
right?
rather, a
All
little
right.
bit over 7 years in jail. So in that 7 years, might not be able to have access to a lot of things any longer. So he won't be able to perpetrate the kind of crime he's committing any longer. So it'd be very difficult for him to build back up. More importantly, if he has a gang that he was working with before, they are not going to need him anymore in that 7 years. So that's something that will be very disruptive if he's actually working with the gang. So in that sense, I would say yes, it makes sense.
All right, then moving on. Now, the next story sounds like something out of a movie, right? A Dominican gang member wanted for international firearms trafficking was actually caught because, well, check this out. He applied for US citizenship. How do you go and apply for US citizenship when you are wanted internationally? God. This is ridiculous, Wale. I don't have no comments. I'm just like,
It's
that guy
like
must be smoking something.
it's like I don't know. It's like Nicolas Maduro that was arrested by the US, coming to the US saying he wants to apply for this citizenship. Like we have been looking for you.
Exactly. I don't get it. The
Yeah,
audacity.
yeah. I thought the guy that went to border patrol facility, the illegal alien that went to border patrol facility. I thought that guy was like the extreme case of this kind of situation, but this one even takes the cake. This one is an international illegal arms dealer that is wanted federally and he has the confidence to go to a federal office to say, I want to become a US citizen. That's absolutely insane. I can't even think about like the most extreme thing I can do that will come close to that.
No,
I
but
can't
Wale,
even.
when you fill out the N400, right? It is stated there. Do you have any affiliation with a gang, with terrorism, with you know crime? Have you been convicted before? Are you want those things are actually on that form?
But first of all, how did you get to the point of end form? Before you get there, don't you need some kind of green card or some kind
Well,
of what's it called? Some protected status. You need something before you can apply for naturalization.
that's a really good
Does it mean
question.
that you had that thing before? Those are the things I'm thinking in my head.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like, how did he even get to the point? Because for you to naturalize, you probably have a green card. You have to have a green card, and you have to have come through different process to get to a green card, right? You don't get a green card if you have to get. There are some processes. Whatever process you like, get a visa, then you can't get a green card. You get a, what you must. There's a process before you get a green card. So you get something first, then you get a green card. Then maybe 2-3 steps before you get a green card. Then you become, apply for your citizenship. So that is really, really, really. That's a really good question, Wale. You asked, how did he get to this point where he's applying for US citizenship? How did he get to that point
Just remember, even on
without
the
him
green
being
card
picked up?
application, they still ask you the same questions about your criminal
Yes,
history.
yes, yes. I don't know how he's done it, or maybe because he probably is been wanted in Dominica, right? But it's it's possible that the news. I cannot say the news. What am I even thinking? Because it's expected that the USCIS will do a background check anyways.
Mhm.
So did they miss something until it came to the point to ICE? That's where it is now at this point. But
Yeah, I'm
although
sure there's more to the story,
ICE will
but
not. But then, well, if we think about it, USCIS still does the background check. Even when you come apply for the naturalization, right? They still do a background check, and it's not really ICE that does the background check. They probably now found the information and passed it on to ICE. Probably. In most cases, that's how it works. They find information, they provide it, ICE takes it and run with it. So I'm sure that's where the case is.
yes, regardless, this man has like some serious confidence. I don't even know what to call it. It's some confidence that is out of this world. That's what he has.
He's on his eye on something. Because I can't imagine doing that. I can't even imagine anyone in their right mind making that step. You're a criminal, you're wanted, and you decide to go. It's like you wanted.
Federally wanted for an international crime. So the same federal government
The
for
federal government say,
citizenship.
yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. Come get me. All right, then, Wally. Let's shift from to the political landscape, right? Trump has made a new threat regarding the TSA and ICE, and the decision is that if they don't get funding for DHS from the Democrats, then he's going to send ICE to the airport to fill in, the gaps provide. And this is not pleasant, Wally. There's no way this is going to go well for many people, especially a lot of immigrants who are traveling. Imagine moving from TSA checkpoint to ICE checkpoint, from just a regular travel document checkpoint to your status checkpoint. So I don't think as soon as if that goes into effect, I don't think it will be a good time for people to travel, especially immigrants. If Trump goes ahead with this, and if they don't find a way to, approve the budget for DHS, don't go to the airport.
Yeah, I guess I just talk if there are people that watch our channel that are not in the United States, they might not know much about DHS and ICE. DHS is like the parent organization that the secretary directly reports to President Trump. That's the Department of Homeland Security. ICE is the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They're the one that is responsible for enforcing immigration laws. So they are the ones that deport people. They are the ones that arrest people, and it is and they can of course work with other departments to also arrest people, but their primary duty is to enforce the law. And then we have the TSA, who are at the airport. They are responsible for basically. If you've ever gone to any American airport, like that's what you meet a TSA officer, they do the security checks on you, they pass you through. If there's a reason to check you again, they put you aside and they double check you, things like that. That's what they do. So there are these different bodies that serve different purposes. So during the last, I don't know, for a few weeks now, even maybe over a month now, there's been a government shutdown, which means that the TSA part of the DHS itself is not being funded. And because TSA is under DHS, they're also not getting funded. And there's a whole political thing that the Democrats do not want to fund DHS, but they want to fund TSA. And the Trump administration, the Republicans, they don't want to fund all of it. So that's the whole thing that is stalling the whole negotiation process now. So, but like Precious said, like, we need to understand when, unfortunately, we have a proverb in an African proverb that when two elephants fight, the grass suffers. So it means that when the two elephants in this case are the Republicans and the Democrats, and unfortunately the rest of us are the grass. It's not even a matter of whether you're an immigrant or not. Everyone is going to be affected, whether they are citizens or whether they are immigrants. Of course, the citizens will have less issues at the airport compared to immigrants. Immigrants might have multiple scrutinies that they will have to go through at the airport. And if you are wanted on federal charges for illegal arms, I suggest that you don't go to the airport. If you are an illegal immigrant that is working for border security, I suggest that you don't go to the airport. Generally speaking, every other person should be fine.
Yeah, Wale. And finally, we're going to end on a note of reflection. We lost a titan this week. Many of us grew up watching his movies in our home countries long before we ever moved to America or wherever you are right now. We are talking about the legend himself, Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris wasn't an actor. He was a meme, a hero, and a symbol of toughness for generations. Wally, Chuck Norris, man, I don't have words to say. Man, that was the epitome of action, toughness, man, growing up as a kid.
Yes. He's a legend everywhere. A lot of Americans might not know it, but there are quite a few legends that people in Africa, quite a few American legends that people in Africa are familiar with, especially through Hollywood. Chuck Norris is definitely one of them. As a kid, especially as young men, like you see someone who is so masculine, who is so heroic, who knows how to take action when he needs to take action, who stands for truth and justice, and who always goes after evil and defeats evil. That's very inspiring for a lot of kids, and especially in Africa. Then you see someone like that. Okay, you think about how can you in this world also be able to stand up to evil, fight for the truth, and things like that. And Chuck Norris is just one of those legends that is just is timeless. He didn't look like he was in his 80s at all. He didn't look like. For me, like when I still saw some of his public appearances recently, it looked like someone that was in his 60s. So for me, I didn't even think that he was going to die. I was never expecting his death. I will be thinking, if I was going to expect it would be like maybe 10, 20 years from now, 10 years maybe, max and minimum, and then maybe in the next 20 years that I should be hearing about his death. But he's gone now. He's definitely inspirational, and I really thankfully lived a wonderful life. I understand he suffered from a very brief illness before he passed, but he was with his family. He was with his loved ones when he passed. And I pray for his family, and I really hope that they are able to have the strength to pull through during this difficult time.
Thank you, Wally. And that is all we have for today. Please stay informed as you go around. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. And over to you, Wally.
Yes, we'll see you in the next one. Like, subscribe. Thank you.
Bye now.